Hello, everybody. Welcome to People's Poll. My name is James, and a week later than originally planned, I'm delighted to welcome back our Watford correspondent, Stephen Toumi at Sixth Goal on Twitter. How are you, Stephen?
Hey, well, I was going to say good morning, but I know it's afternoon, 4:30 over there. It's 8:30 here. I'm doing great. Happy to be back on. Happy to see my Hornets headed up this year. Yeah, life is good.
Good stuff. Many congratulations. For the benefit of those listening on the audio, Stephen is recording in his car again.
No.
Nah?
My mobile recording studio. It's not a car. My mobile recording studio.
Your mobile recording show. You must be looking forward to next season, mate, with Watford back promoted to the Premier League.
I am. It's going to be exciting. I mean, it was exciting seeing the celebrations that, hey, we're going up, I did have some thoughts that, they'll probably do pretty good a year removed from the Prem. Coming back up, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch them on TV again. As we were talking a minute ago, I really wasn't able to watch any of the games this year down in the championship. And just with the way everything went in 2020, I honestly had really no desire, to be honest with you. It's sort of a mess of a year for everybody, for sports, for life. And I just fell out of favor with them, to be honest with you. I kept track, but I couldn't tell you who scored the most goals on the team this year. I know the names and the players, but I really didn't take much of an interest. I had lost interest and was trying to deal with life, like many others out there.
Yeah, no, it's obviously been a really difficult year or so for everybody. I felt like with yourself, when you went down, you were at kind of a real low point with Watford. I know you weren't happy with what was happening with Nigel Pearson. I felt like you'd kind of fallen out of love with it a little bit.
The Pozzo, excuse me, the Pozzos have done a good job. They run the club like a business. The business makes money. The owners are happy. But as a supporter, I mean, you see that revolving door. They get a big name player who they bring up through the youth ranks, sell him for $70 million to Everton. How many we went through? What, 4 managers last season? I mean, it was absolutely crazy. And then they bring in Cisco, and he did a good job. But how long are they going to stick with him in the Premier League if he has a run like Javi Garcia did to start the season? You run off 2 wins out of 10 or 2 out of 12. And you know what? He's going to be axed and we're going to be with the interim again. I mean, that's my thinking, because that's what the past has shown us with the ownership when it comes to management. So I'm not down on the Pozzos. I like them. I like the hire we have now. And we'll just have to see how they get on in top flight next season.
Last time you were promoted was in 2015, and it wasn't enough for Slavica Jokanovic to keep hold of his job. I mean, since you came up, we had obviously Kike Sanchez-Flores, Walter Mazzari, Marco Silva, Javi Gracia.
Don't remind me.
Javi Gracia survived 18 months. He was the longest, obviously got you to the cup final. Flores again, Hayden Mullins as caretaker, Nigel Pearson, Hayden Mullins as caretaker. And then when you went down, you appointed Vladimir Ivic, and he only lasted 4 months.
Yeah, and I like that hire too. I was high on him coming out of Israel, but I guess players just hated him from what I read.
It seems like it was a real breakdown between player, manager, and also board as well.
Yeah.
And then Xisco Munoz, who I think not a lot of people will even know who he is, to be honest, is a Spaniard. He was brought in, he's only 40 years of age. He was brought in having won the Georgian title with Dynamo Tbilisi. It felt like just another name plucked from nowhere, the latest in this wheel of revolving door of Watford managers. But he's done fantastically well. And it feels like, looking around the Watford community and watching a few videos and whatnot, the fans are so overwhelmingly excited for next season. The football style is better. It kind of generally seems like a 4-3-3 formation from what I've seen. No, I've not seen a lot of Watford this season. You've held a lot of the players who got relegated from the year before. So Ismaila Sarr, for example, still with the club. it seems a real excitement for Watford again going into this new season. And I understand Adam Leventhal, as the Athletic reporters, confirms actually today when we're recording that Cisco will definitely be in charge for next season.
Cisco will be in charge to start the season. We'll have to see what happens. I just, like I said, the track record with the Pozzos, I don't have much faith that they hit a bad streak and they'll ship him out. But going back to this season, I like the fact that the club was built on defense. It still is a defensive team. I mean, we look at not so much what they did last year during the relegation season, but the season they made it to the cup final. They actually played some pretty good defense, minus Man City. I mean, giving up, 20 goals in 3 games is ridiculous. But for the most part, they are a good defensive squad. Like you said, we held some players. We retained some players from the Premier League, especially on defense. Sarr, we got some young kids in there. And as they usually do, they go and they pick some of these players who aren't necessarily big name players, but they're role type players for the club. And I think that's going to prove worthy. But one thing that does concern me, I mean, they go down, they concede 30 goals, I think, this season. Incredible. It is only the championship. I mean, I say it's only the championship, but I mean, if they concede, let's say 45, 50 next season, I guarantee you Norwich City is going to concede many more than that. I think Watford coming up is a stronger defensive team than what Norwich is. And I think Norwich gave up something like 36 goals. But
yeah, that's really interesting that you mentioned that, because before we was meant to record, we did a bit of a poll on Twitter to kind of get some feeling amongst the people on Twitter. And the majority of the people think Norwich are more likely to stay up than Watford. And I completely understand that opinion, because Norwich have won the title. But actually, I think there's 2 main reasons why I think actually Watford are probably better equipped than Norwich to stay up at the moment. One is financially. I think the players you've got look like they're going to stay, the likes of Sarr, etc. I think a bit of money will be spent. And the other thing, which I've completely forgotten, the defensive record, the 30 goals conceded.
Yeah.
That's seriously impressive. And there's one name that keeps cropping up in my research, because again, I've not seen a lot of Watford this year that people are going mad about. And that's this lad, Francisco Sierralta, who's a Chilean international playing at centre-back. I've heard him called Virgil van Sierralta. The Watford fans seem absolutely in love with this guy. And having watched a few videos of him, he is an absolute giant. He's a complete unit in the air, and he's going to get a few goals from set pieces next year. Fingers crossed 4.5, mate.
Yeah, and I mean, that was one area that we struggled in. I mean, we had Dawson, we had Cathcart, and they either weren't quick enough or were making stupid mistakes. And yeah, they were on the wrong side of 30. So, they did have the experience, and that was a great thing that they brought to the club. But yeah, Sierralta's, he played excellent. He was outstanding this season for us. I mean, he potentially could have been one of those unsung heroes on the club this season. But what was more interesting was when Ben Foster went down, they threw Bachmann in there, and Bachmann ended up with something like 10, 11, 12 clean sheets this season.
That's right.
So that was great to see. And I mean, he's not even our up-and-coming youth. I mean, we still got Pontus Dahlberg out on loan in, Denmark or Sweden or somewhere. But yeah, I mean, that one poll question was interesting. I have no doubt that Norwich will expose defenses and get their goals. And again, I think Watford will struggle on the offensive end of the ball unless we can make some changes.
It seems like defensively it's quite well set. I mean, those who are looking forward to watching, have you seen any of Ben Foster's GoPro videos?
Oh yeah, I was.
They're great.
I thought those were great, great.
It would be absolutely amazing to see that in the Premier League, but I suspect we're not going to so much, because I think Daniel Batman, for his record since he's come into the team, he's probably going to start the new season as number 1, I should imagine.
Yeah.
On the record you've had, because Sierralta, for those who don't know, basically he came in last summer, basically didn't play for you in the first half of the season, but since Cisco's come in, he's obviously put him in the team, and the defensive records improved dramatically. And his partner has done really well with him as well. William Troost-Ekong, who's a Nigerian international. They seem like the centre-back pairing that's probably likely to start next season. And you've still got Cathcart, you mentioned, Christian Kabasele, and Ben Wilmot, who's been on loan at Udinese, all in reserve.
He won't be there. Yeah, he won't be there.
It looks like Wilmot's probably going to go.
Oh, hey, and don't forget the old man, Ashley Young.
Well,
I don't understand that hire. Or are you getting to that?
I was going to come on to that because Adam Messina's probably the first choice left back at the moment. But I think
he is.
It's been identified that Watford are looking for a new left back. And yes, Ashley Young, turning 36 in July, is the name that's being mentioned. You're shaking your head at it, Stephen.
He's going to be another Jose Holebas. I mean, now granted, Holebas had some good seasons. I mean, we know what Holebas can do. We know what Ashley Young has done. I just, unless it's just for the experience, which I can understand, that just seems like an absolutely atrocious hire. A signing. I don't get it. I mean, yeah, he'll be a spot player now and then on the left, coming in at 60 minutes or 75 minutes, getting 15, 20, 30 minutes in a game. But I just don't understand it. I mean, unless it is solely for depth. I mean, now you have him and Foster back there. Yes, they, have, I don't know what they have in the Premier League, 20 years combined, 25 years experience combined. So, I mean, that's great to have, especially for the young kids who may have not played in the Prem yet. So, I guess in one sense I can understand it, but from a on the pitch perspective, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, I know he was loved. I know he was loved by fans when he was there as a young player, but I don't know.
That was his breakthrough. You got promoted.
He was.
I want to say 2006. And he did really well for you in the first season when he went back down and obviously got his move to Villa and then went on from there. So he obviously came through the academy at Watford. He's obviously got the club at heart. He was part of Inter Milan's title winning team in Serie A. I know he wasn't starting regularly, but I would have thought that experience would be quite invaluable, no?
And yeah, I think it is. I mean, as long as he knows he's coming in to be a role type player and not your 38 game starter. And like you said, I do agree with you that Messina is going to be the main starter on that side. So, who knows? I mean, maybe he still has it at 35. I don't know. I know Premier League looks a little bit more rigorous than, the Italian league. So I guess it's a wait and see. I mean, I really haven't seen expectations discussed on how Ashley Young fits in. But, maybe he'll surprise. Maybe he's got one good year left in him and, help us stay up. Start that next would be the plan, wouldn't it?
I think, to be fair, he's never come across Stephen as an ego player. I think he'd come in and think, well, I owed his football club a little bit. It gave me its start. I think we identify him as possibly being looked at as a left-back alternative because you've got options at right-back with Kiko Femenia, who I think the majority of us have probably bought at 4.2 million at one point or another in FPL and been let down at one point or another. And Jeremy Ngakia is probably his understudy who signed from West Ham last year. I think Femenia is very likely to be first choice and probably the one that people will recognise from the defensive lineup that comes up and interests them.
Yeah, and I mean, you can move. I wouldn't be surprised if you could move either of those backs up to that outside midfield position, and Ngakia could play. We saw that last season with Femenia playing some right midfielder and making those long runs down the channel there, and he's got a good foot to get the ball in, just like Messina does. So I think it's going to be great to have both of them. But yeah, I do agree. I think Femenia will be our starting right back, and Ngakia is young, but I mean future. I mean, again, Femenia has got to be 33, 34. So I mean, maybe he's 32, but he's on the other side of 30 as well.
He's 30. He's 30.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry. I guess I'm not giving my team enough credit.
But anyway. I mean, I understand why you mentioned that because he's quite a quick player, isn't he? So he relies a lot on that, his recovery pace, etc., and his ability to get forward. I think that's what always attracted people to him as a potential FPL asset. One name I really wanted to speak to you about because we spoke about him a lot before you went down was Will Hughes.
Oh, okay.
Who did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say Andre Gray.
No. We get onto Andre Gray in a bit. Will Hughes regularly seem to play out of position for you on the right-hand side of midfield. Since Etienne Capoue went to Villarreal, it seems he's taken more of this deeper lying role in the centre of Watford's midfield three. And he's a good footballer. He was a player I know you really liked and you felt he wasn't utilised properly. Is that fair?
Yeah, it is. I think he was that creative player we needed in the center on attack. I mean, at times, again, you would see the shift and you'd see Hughes swing in, and then here comes the right back up to fill Hughes' spot. But I think he is, I mean, and he always has been for the most part, he has been a central midfielder. And yeah, he's not the biggest name. He doesn't have the best footwork, but he's got the fundamentals. He understands the system. He plays well with the players around him. And yeah, I think he is a key to this upcoming season. He's got the experience up in the top division. So I think our midfielder is going to be key again, just like it was when Capoue was there with Decore. I mean, we need to get that midfield too, those two center midfielders, if we go to change up that system to, basically dominate and control the game. I know that can be said for any team, but, a team like Watford that doesn't score very much, historically doesn't score very much in the Premier League, we need to control the ball. We need to, we need to get it out wide. We need to create those chances, what few chances we may get in a game. So, yeah, I think Hughes is, I'm glad he's still with us, and I'm glad he's still in that central role under Cisco.
There's depth in that area as well in midfield. You've still got Tom Cleverley there, who I understand has had a much improved season actually, and been integral to what you've been doing. Nathaniel Chalobah, I understand, nearly moved to Leicester in the January window. He's stepped up and improved quite a lot this year. You got Dan Gosling in, who people remember from Bournemouth. He scored the crucial goal when you won at Carrow Road, which effectively sealed promotion. And Philip Zinckernagel came in the winter window as well. Now, he can play higher as a wide player as well. I can't profess to have seen him, but he come with a really good goal-scoring record prior to joining the club. So you've got depth in the midfield areas as well. It's another reason why I feel like you're better set. Some of the squad depth is already there. And going back to sort of Ashley Young, for example, the likes of Cleverley is obviously a very experienced player. And as I said, Watford fans are telling me that he's had a much improved season, and Chalobah's improved as well. So that midfield three, I think that's probably the favoured midfield three. Probably I see it if there's no new signings. Hughes, Chalobah, Cleverley, I think.
I would think so, yeah.
Ismaila Sarr, do you expect him to stay?
I expected him to be gone when we went down, to be honest with you. Yeah. I thought they would cut their losses. Well, not cut their losses, but get what they could for him. But he re-signed, and it doesn't sound like he's in any hurry to leave. That's not to say that somebody comes in throwing 50, 67 million around. Watford's not going to think twice about it. But, I mean, if he can stay with us, I think that's a huge win, especially coming back up this year. I mean, he definitely improved. I think he scored 13 goals this season. Like you were talking about the other midfielders, I mean, he is much improved. He's got the pace down that right side. I think he's going to be a little bit smarter this season, and I think he's going to be used better than what he has in the past. So, yeah, I'm excited that Sarr is still a Hornet.
I think Sarr's the name for the FPL managers that they're going to remember most, particularly remembering the devastating performance which ended Liverpool's unbeaten run in the previous season. He was heavily linked to Liverpool last summer, and it's believed that talks were held with Manchester United as well. And I think you're right, Stephen. If a big money offer comes in, which is difficult for the club to turn down, then he probably will go. But I think it's only probably going to be if it's one of the really, really big names. I mean, for example, I'll shoot myself here, but I wouldn't see, for example, him going to Tottenham. I think we are talking about him going to a Liverpool, Manchester United, or another giant around Europe. Otherwise, he'll stay at Watford. And I think there's always concerns when you drop down a division, what a high-profile player like that is going to be like that. Be sort of, does he feel like a big-time Charlie in a lower league? And actually, all the reports are that he's knuckled down well. He's done the business. Basically probably been your player of the year again. and ready to go and attack the Premier League again. I would have thought it's definitely better for all parties involved, including the player, if he gives Watford another season. I don't think no one's expecting to be at Watford for the next 5-10 years, but I expect him to stay for this season at least.
Yeah. I think he signed through 2022.
Yeah, his contract's long enough, yeah.
So, yeah, he puts in a good performance.
Must be longer. That's
year.
Next year, Stephen. Must be longer than that. He's got in his contract, I think.
Maybe. But I know he signed a 4-year contract. But, yeah, big things. And, he is our big name player. But, I mean, in the grand scheme of things in the Premier League, he's not your big name midfielder that everybody's attracted to. But he, like you said, he played very well this year. He arguably could have been the MVP for Watford. And we'll just have to see. I think he's going to need a little help up there.
Well, that's where the big issue in the squad looks to be for me is the rest of the attacking lineup. So still gone.
Still an issue.
Yes, but I think you're looking to improve it. So Ken Sema's done quite well the last couple of months. Generally played as the left-sided forward. Yep. Can also play a little bit deeper as well. I don't think
big surprise.
Go on, elaborate on that if you can.
Oh no, I was just saying he didn't do much when he played in the Premier League last time. He was sort of a role player, and yeah, I know he was playing behind Pereira, or they would slide him into the middle, and he never looked like he was going to do much. But yeah, last season he had a solid season. Again, it's the championship, so we'll have to see how he readjusts to a faster, a stronger game again in the Premier League. But right now, I do agree he's set on that left side. So
up front, there's an exciting kid. The majority of respondees to our poll said this was the player they most were looking forward to see is Joao Pedro.
Yep.
19-year-old forward. There's rumours that he might end up in a wider position for Watford next year, and Watford may look to buy a central striker. How much have you been able to see of him, Stephen?
I've just seen highlights, a lot of highlights from Fluminense. I mean, when he came out of Brazil, and, there was just so much talk and so much excitement around, again, our youth system finds these kids in South America and they're just phenoms, and I've finally gotten over the Richarlison sale. But I mean, Richarlison's a case right there. I mean, he was a stud coming out of Brazil, played well for, half a season at a time at Watford, and then moves on. And he's only gotten better. And, like I said, I've come full circle. I really come to respect the play of Richarlison. So I'm hoping Pedro can come in and, potentially play that center role. He's got the skill. He's got the talent, but we'll have to see just, how his experience fits in, again, with a game that is faster and stronger than, many other leagues out there. I don't think he is the answer to our center forward issue. We definitely need some more talent there, but he's got the speed that, I mean, he could cut in from, a wing like, Mane or Salah do. I mean, you have your center forward up there who, I'm just thinking Bobby Firmino would typically drop back, and now you have that attack coming in from the wings with the speed we have. I think it would be great, but, we'll have to see what, how they line up front and who they go with.
13 goals in 39 for Sarr last season's 1 in 3. It's good, particularly for a wide player. Mm-hmm. Joao Pedro 9 in 31 starts. Again, you're talking more like 1 in 3.5. But of course, we have to remember his age, and the physicality of the championship does actually ease off a little bit. You can, believe it or not, get a little bit more space in the Premier League. So it remains to be seen how he gets on. I think what's concerning, to kind of go against all the exciting things about the defensive record, looks really strong at the moment. Beyond the 22 goals scored by Sarr and Pedro, your next highest scorers are Dini, 7, only made 14 starts last year, and your mate Andre Gray, who scored 5 in 14 starts. So the depth going forward would be a concern.
Terrible, yeah. It's always been a concern. Always been a concern.
Why is that? Because we shouldn't expect really Watford players to be getting 15 to 20 goals in the Premier League.
You know why? I think is because they have relied so much on Troy Deeney over the years. I mean, regardless if you love the guy or hate the guy, he is and has been the heart of Watford. He has been the captain. He is the one who will come out and, do something stupid like he did at Liverpool, or, come in at halftime and fire the team up with a talk. I mean, for me, he's Watford. I mean, he will always be who I think of when I think Watford. He's going to be Deeney, but he's turning into a role player at his age. He is a role player. 7-14, that's a solid season. But again, he's going to be that attacker you bring in at 60 minutes, and he's going to stand right on the penalty spot, and it's like, okay, get the ball to me. But yeah, I don't know. It's not that we haven't shopped around for some good forwards, but maybe, I don't know. I wish I had an answer. Andre Gray is not the answer.
I'll give you a name, Stephen, because I've heard this linked over the last week or so, and it's a former Watford player, Mattia Vidra. Has been linked potentially with, and he's done quite well for Burnley in the last couple of months. How would you feel if he returned?
I mean, again, you've got another former player coming home, and it can't hurt. Let me just put it that way. It cannot hurt. I mean, we need depth up front, because all we have in that center spot is age. And, and I know I'm going to jump on Andre Gray again, but I do not think Andre Gray is a starter in the Premier League. Championship, yes, but not in the Premier League. He's that 60-minute super sub. So now you got an old guy and you've got a super sub. Who was the other kid there? The Nigerian we had. I can't even remember his name. That's how important he was.
Isaac Success. Manchild's old friend.
Yeah, Manchild's old friend. That's right. Again, I think those are our three. And like you said, there is no depth. Pedro, I mean, who knows? Maybe Pedro's going to come in and set the league on fire. But I don't see that happening, because that's not Watford. Watford's got to control the ball. They got to control possession, play defense, and, get a goal on 4 or 5 chances. I mean, because that's probably all they're going to get in a majority of these games.
To be fair, no one expected Igalo to go off big 6 years ago, and he was great, true. Right? So different style then perhaps, but I understand, and again, I can't profess to have seen a lot of you this year, but Watford fans that I see are all really excited for this coming year. And I get the feeling that Watford fans, when I spoke to Mark, FPL Badger, a couple of weeks ago about Norwich, I think he knows that financially they don't have the money to kind of push on much further. They've got some very talented players, like Emi Buendia has been the standout player in that division this year. But it's not even certain that it will stay, whereas we're discussing and saying, well, it would only take some super money or a really big, powerful club to come and take Sarr. And the money will get invested anyway. I don't doubt, having done the research now in your squad, that they're going to identify a left back and they're going to identify a couple of attacking players to go and buy. And as you said, they seem to have a great scouting network in South America that is constantly unearthing these gems. And they'll probably go down that route and find another one, I should imagine.
Yeah. And that's why I do think that if you ask me right now who's going to stay up, Norwich or Watford, and if I were just that casual fan, I would have to think Watford. I mean, you've got to play defense, and not that Norwich didn't play defense. I just didn't see the defense, and maybe they've improved. I didn't watch them at all either.
They have, in fairness.
They've improved, and we just have to wait and see. I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions. I mean, it's going to be coming off that high of being promoted. They came in second place. That's fine. They play some games differently in the beginning of the season and score some goals. Maybe we're not talking second place. We're talking top, but it doesn't matter. They're back. That's all that matters. And I mean, the supporters, it's odd, because I would love to get over to Vic Road to see a game, because these supporters, and I'm sure it's like this for every club, but the longer I'm on Twitter or Instagram and around some of these accounts, it's just, they just get so pumped up. I mean, just being there in the stadium with the music going and the flags and everything they have, especially a smaller club. I mean, the fans are amazing. I mean, the supporters are amazing. So hopefully I can slide into one of those games.
We want to help get that arranged for you, mate. Definitely. Hopefully, come August and when the new season kicks off, hopefully, obviously, there's supporters returning to crowds in the Premier League this midweek in smaller numbers. But hopefully, come August, we might be close to full attendances. And I think clubs like yours need that. The passionate support from the rookery end and stuff. It's quite a scene they create prior to games now as well. There's a real family club, Watford, but they've got some intense fans on that end now who are helping to make an atmosphere at Vicarage Road. You'll love it if you can get there, mate. Serge will get you a ticket. He knows people.
When I get there, Serge knows people.
Serge knows people. We'll get you there, mate. Stephen, absolute pleasure catching up with you today. You can follow Stephen, everyone, on Twitter at Sixth Goal. Stephen will be part of the team again next year, featuring on Clash of the Correspondents for sure. Stephen, stay well, my friend. Stay safe. And to everybody else, good luck for game week 37. Cue music, please, man child.